Hello, my name is Karen Schreiner, and this is my audition for the role of Amy. I married Alexander when I was 24. Had my son Robert dutifully a year later, and had Elaine 4 years after that, when I was 29. Though I had many other children, of sorts. What did she say? How many babies has she had? She must be Catholic. But she said, of sorts. What does that even mean? Scandalous. Do I have you curious? Well, I was a composer. Yes, I was a composer. And yes, I did consider my compositions to be children. I would think most composers do. I wrote a lot, mostly songs, though I did do pieces for piano and violin. Gained some recognition along the way, if I do say so myself. Even had some of my work published, which for a woman was not easy. Though I suppose at the time, not incredibly difficult either. Back in those days, publication was a numbers game. When I was a little girl, American music publishers put out 25,000 new titles every year, each one just trying to capture a little bit of success of some of those songs like After the Ball, The Waltz by Mr. Charles Harris. Do you know it? It tells the story of a man who is recounting to his niece why he never married. Interesting. Kind of a twist on the spinster woman tale, but the word spinster only applies to women. After all, a male spinster is a bachelor. Yes, no distinction whatsoever in the words for a unmarried 22-year-old man and an unmarried 62-year-old man. Boys forever, bachelors all. Well, back to the lyrics. Now, whilst attending a ball as a young man, our future spinster goes to fetch his sweetheart a cup of water, only to find her kissing another man upon his return. He's devastated. He doesn't listen to her explanation, of course. Only years later, after she has died, does he find out the other man was her brother. That song sold 10 million copies. People ate that up 100 years ago. Even I did, I must admit. Do you think people would eat that up today? Who knows? I always found it interesting, however, that everyone focused on the tragedy of the spinster male. Oh, he let his pride get in the way. He stood in his own way. Well, I, for one, hope that she died happy, spared from a life of fighting and losing, a slow war of attrition with a gentleman who would invariably chip away at her resolve to assert her own voice until finally she falls silent, a shell of her former self, with nary a piece of self-respect. Forgive my digression. America was at war most of my life, if not with someone else, then with itself. But I wrote most of my music in that sweet spot between the two great wars. And I would have written much, much more if circumstances had allowed it. But that is a rather unpleasant part of my story, and I would hate to depress you all with that particular grimness, at least before you've been able to hear some of my music, which is not depressing at all. No, music is an escape, isn't it? Even when not writing for film, songs with no words, they gave me the chance to daydream in my own cinematic, imaginary story, where everyone is happy, everyone is loved, it is always spring, and the flowers bloom all around us. Thank you very much for your consideration.